Before we start this, Omar, what was the score of the game? Tell everybody. Smoked them, right? And he said they were 7-3. I don't know if they're our division. Like our actually not division class, I think. But yeah, it's a good first win. I mean, that doesn't officially count on our ranking. Still a good win. So good job to the football team. If you know anybody that plays football and you didn't know that, tell them good job. All right. So, and again, just be honest. I'm truly not penalizing anybody. Yeah, so that's your signal right now. Earbuds, phones, don't want to see them. Be honest. And I'm going to be honest. But there's no zero penalty. I'm not penalizing anybody. This against you. First period, nobody did. Did you watch the video? What is a variable specific to geometry? Raise your hand. All right. That's like 7 more than the first class. Did you do the IXL 7RA? Raise your hand. Some people I saw, actually one person did. She didn't raise her hand, but I know she did it because I can see if you do the IXL. So actually, try to keep it on. All right. So again, I said do IXLs. I said watch the video. I said we got a quick lesson and you're having a quiz on it the next day. That's what's going to happen. You didn't do it. You're behind everybody else that did it. And when you get behind in this class, as you've seen, we go fast. And it's going to go faster. I actually am behind every teacher. You think I'm going fast? I'm 3 lessons behind one of the teachers. He's like on pace, basically. He's staying up. I don't know how he does it. It's impossible, but somehow he's getting through the material. We'll go through this quickly today. And then you have, if you didn't get it, you can get it later. Don't get it now. Then you have probably, in this class, you might have 10 or more minutes because you don't have announcements. You'll get a little bit of practice time. Last class, when I finished the lesson, people start packing up. Oh, we only got 10 minutes left. Yeah, you got 10 minutes left. We rarely get 10 minutes to work. Take advantage of it. That's your time to talk to other people. If you're not getting it, ask me questions. You pack up and go home and you got zero, I mean, maybe some. You have to work in class to get this down. You have to work at home to get this down. I'm going to say it a million times. You get sick of it, but it's not that class that you just coast through and catch up in the last 2 weeks. Not. Whether I teach it or not, it's just not. We go too fast. There's too much material to think that you're going to retain everything we do in class. Got to put work into it outside of class. All right. So those of you that saw that, or if you didn't see it, if you just think I understand what a variable is, we're about to find out. Just going to start at the front of the room. Isabella, what? Tell me something. Just tell me something about it. We'll start doing it. Any of that. So typically when you see a variable, you're going to need to create an equation to solve for that variable. Sometimes if it's super easy, you might just be able to sort of figure it out. You're still creating an equation. Actually, let's do this. Who am I going to call on for this? Oh, my shy. Dominic, right? Dominic, you go to the movies. Going to buy all the tickets for the groups. You buy 3 tickets. You spend $30. How much was each ticket? So you're buying 3 tickets. You spend $30 total for all 3. How much was each ticket? $10, right? That's algebra. When am I ever going to use math? When am I use that? You use it all the time. You don't know you're using it. If you solve for an unknown number, that's algebra. We have an unknown number. What should I? What is a variable? Unknown number. Somebody. That's what I did there too. Like literally, I gave you the answer. A variable is just an unknown number. That x is a number. You got to understand that. It is a number. We just don't know what it is. Just like you didn't know what the ticket price was, right? That was a variable. That was an unknown number. You had an equation that you solved and you didn't even know. You solved this equation. 3x equals 30. What does 3x mean? Tony says something. Yeah, it represents how many tickets, right? Or really, it represents 3x's is really what it represents. you're adding together the price of all three tickets, and it's the same price, so we can use the same exact variable. X is always the same number everywhere you see it in an equation. Even if it's x squared, the x itself is the same number. So that's really the equation you created. 3x, 3 times x, is just a shortcut to adding x plus x plus x. You do need to understand 3x is 3 times x. Or if you understand it's just 3x's, that actually is even better. Right? So with that in mind, this is just an unknown number. X is just a number we don't know yet. And here we actually have two of them. This is actually two x's, x plus x. And it's crap one. All right, oh wait, where'd I end? So Tyler, tell me something else about it. Related maybe to, we did lines, right, in the first lesson. What do we have related to kind of that lesson I briefly mentioned? Oh, that's actually a good one. So what do I have? We could call it distances, but let me kind of just do some stuff. So we talked about a line. We said a line does what? What was the kind of the special thing about a line? The reason why we do this at the end. Goes on forever, right? Line goes on forever. It doesn't really technically have, I mean, it has an infinite length. So there's not really math you can do with a line. We're done with lines. We spent all that time in person. Like literally, I extended that to 3 lessons instead of 1, and we're done with it. Line segments, however, all have lengths. A line segment is it has endpoints. It's like finite on the end, like it stops. So you can measure it. So we have in here, how many line segments do we have in here then? Oh, who said 3? Now you don't want to admit it. Who said it? I heard something say it. You're right, by the way. So I thought that sounded like you got it. So why did you say 3? Yes, just popped in your head, huh? Why are there 3? Yeah, don't forget, this is an endpoint and that is an endpoint. Yeah. So that is a segment. And that's actually very important because that's the whole lesson in a second. I'll do in like 2 minutes. I'm spending way more time on algebra stuff than I am on the geometry. I guess that, yeah. All right, so we have segments in here. From A to B is a segment. It starts at point A, it ends at point B. I could measure that segment as a length. We also have from B to C, same concept. Starts at B, goes to C, starts and ends. I can measure that segment. And then we have all the way from A to C, starts and ends. I can measure that segment. Oh, now we're really going to get into some weird conceptual stuff. Where did I leave off? Jason, right? At least like no feeling. What's the length of AB? Oh, right. Wow. How would I know that? You know? Dylan, what's the length of AB? Jensen, what's the length of AB? These are people that did not watch my video. Yeah, that's the length. Again, when I say what is the length, what is the measure of, what is the degree, like you don't have to answer a number. So that's the first thing. This is why you're supposed to watch the video, because I can't spend tons of time on this concept. That is the length. I don't know it. Like it's got an unknown part to it, so I can't figure it out. I mean, well, I can't figure it out. I can figure it out. But as of right now, I don't know the number, but I know that represents the length. You've got to understand that. And I don't mean for just today. I mean for this whole next 9, 10 months. You struggle with that concept, you're going to really struggle in geometry. Because every geometry, well, not every, almost every geometry problem deals with some kind of an expression that is a measure. It might be degree, that might be of inches, some kind of length. But you've got to get used to the fact that you're going to see numbers in a weird, again, it's called an expression. You're going to see them in a little bit different way. It's not just going to be a number. And I kind of already told you. So the length of BC is 2x subtract 1. What's 2x subtract 1 mean? I think I'm on Jensen, right? What's 2x subtract 1 mean? Say it again. What's the length? But I already told you that. What's it mean? Like literally, what does that expression mean? 2x subtract 1. Like in algebra, what would that mean? Like we did it at the beginning. You're probably overthinking. Like what's 2x mean? Yeah, 2x's or 2 times x. So again, I don't know what that number is. I don't know what x is, so I can't know what the whole expression is. But if I could figure out what x is, I would just say, okay, well, let me add that number twice once I figured it out. And then once I've added it together, let me subtract 1 from that, and that will be the length of BC. So again, they are just numbers. This sometimes we don't know what the number is yet. We got to figure it out. All right. So with that in mind, now we're to the geometry finally, and this is the whole lesson in like 2 minutes. The geometry part. Then you got to know how to do algebra. So this pencil is going to represent that line segment. Even better days, but we'll work with it right here. There's the line segment. Has endpoints, right? And it's 15 units long. We don't know if it's inches, meters, miles, doesn't matter. It's units. They typically, well, word problems will give you like a unit, but typically they're just going to put numbers in. They're just going to put numbers in the pictures that they already give you. That's 15 units long, right? But then I put a point somewhere. So here's what the name of the lesson is in the book, I think. Somewhere between A and C, I put a point. That's called betweenness, is what they call this concept. When we get to proofs, they'll call it the segment addition postulate or line segment addition, something like that. It's all the same thing. I put a point between A and C, which then separates it into 2 segments, right? We just talked about the yellow and the green. 2 segments. What's true about these 2 segments? Stupid answer. So, what's true about those 2 segments? You know a few things. There's one big one though that you'll listen. A lot of pressure. Just say something. You got to stop being scared. We think. Say it. So there's a length of this, right? And there's a length. I mean, I will almost always find a way to make you right. So that's good. That's kind of where we're going with this. There's a length here and a length here, right? So we also knew there was a length of the whole thing, right? All right, Anthony. If you go by Anthony or Tony. What else is true? Anything? So that's a great question. Are they the same length? Because it kind of looks like it, right? And I did this on purpose. I put it kind of in the middle. It looks like it, right? What do you think? Is there anything that tells us for sure that they are the same length? Yeah, we don't know for sure they're the same. Now, if they draw it to scale and you go through and you solve out, they probably should be pretty close. So if you get a number that's a 1 and a 10, well, it can't be a 1 and a 10. But if you get 2 numbers that aren't anywhere near each other, you might want to go check your math. Now, drawings are not always to scale. Like I especially will intentionally not make it to scale so you can't guess the answer. But you would have to be in one of the lessons coming up is actually about how you would know if 2 things were the same length. Like what information they would give you that would say, yeah, now we know they're the same length. So as of right now, we just know this point is between A and C. Probably when we do the math, we should get numbers that are pretty close. Maybe they are the same length. We don't know they're not. Michaela, what else do we know? Oh, come on, girl. I just told you something that's circled. What's circled up there? What's that circled stuff have to do with these 2? Yeah. The length of this left one is 2x subtract 1. The length of this right one is x plus 4. So we know that. 2 segments. Sebastian, can you tell there's one big one, though, that we haven't gotten to yet? This is the lesson, probably. What's true about these 2? I'll give you a hint. Out of these 2, right? I had one. What was true about the one? And some of you may not understand this is true. What's up at the top above the 2x and x plus 4? What's right above that? What's that? Correct. This is 15, right? This whole thing is 15. All I did is put a point and kind of separate it. What's true about these two? Well, not 18. Did I change the length? When I just put a point there, did I change the length of the original? No, I just kind of put a point. I didn't really even put a point there. I just kind of named the points. Remember, this is already a bunch of points. So here's your lesson. Super fast lesson. I mean, I spent way more time there than the actual. I'm sure that's how Mr. Fisher gets through it. Is he just kind of goes straight to the end. That segment in yellow plus the length of the segment in yellow plus the length of the segment in green has got to equal the length of the big segment, the A to C. That's it. I mean, that's the whole lesson as far as the geometry goes. This lesson is more about algebra than anything else. So length, and it could be, I'll just tell you right now on the exit ticket tomorrow, quiz/exit ticket, I don't do any, like this is it. I mean, it looks pretty similar to this. One of them's even easier. It could be multiple you could have 3 or 4 segments. Like they could put multiple points in there. And again, all of those segments would add up to the big segment. It's always the same concept. So just understand that. You might see something a little tougher, but it's still a little length of little segment. Segment. That word is segment. If you can't read it, I'll say it again in a second. Length little segment 2, we'll just call it. Oh, you should draw this thing out if you did not draw it. You need to draw it out and write all this. That's your lesson. And that's why I don't go through material, because I want you to understand things, not just a process. But so I'll give you a second to copy that. Oh, you have an answer? I thought you were checking. What's that? Oh, I was going to talk about all that stuff. So you probably have seen in Focus, some of you have seen, because I get questions on it. There is a syllabus. I'm waiting until the block day to hand out. I haven't even copied it. I printed it. It's around somewhere, but I just went ahead and set it up in Focus. But yeah, I did mean to say that you'll get it later. And you do have to get your parents to sign it. You have to sign it and bring it back. One of the pages. I give you another 30 seconds to write that down. And then we'll solve it. Wait. Oh, that must be good. Yeah. So I will normally just call this, and this is not just for line segments. We could have a big angle that we start with, and we could divide that into 2 angles or 3 angles or 4 angles. It's still little plus little is big. If you take some kind of an original shape and you just kind of split it into 2, the original shape didn't change. That line segment A to C did not change in length. If it was 15 to start, it's 15 to end. So with that in mind, now we're going to get a little more mathy. And I'll tell you right now, like when you create equations for me, I don't care if you create that as an equation. You can write your equation out in words like that. I actually encourage kids that struggle to just put it in words and then try to fill in, numbers and variables and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take it one more step and use what you'll normally see on a setup problem from the district, or sometimes I'll have problems that are set up. But since this is really just algebra, you'll normally have to set the equation up. That's the geometry part of it. So that right there means the length of AB. Like that's writing that. So this is the symbol for segment. That's how we know it's not a line that goes on forever, right? There's no arrows. That means length of AB. Now, when we get into proofs, it can mean something else, but for now, That means the length of AB, which is the little segment on the left, plus, what would I write next? It's, yeah, BC, the other segment, right? And we'd write it just like we wrote that one. And then what's the final thing we would write? I don't remember where I left off. Yeah, the big segment. So all we did is take the words and convert them into math symbols to show us the same thing. Is that a question? What's the question? So we're gonna go through. So again, here's what we're doing. We have expressions, right? That's the length. So AB is the length. Writing it is like notation for a segment. But x plus 4 we said was the length. 2x subtract 1. So you know where I'm getting the next part. And it says the question is how long is AB in the image below? So we want to solve and figure out. Like I don't know how long it is, but I want to know. Like I want to figure out how long that segment is. I've got an equation kind of set up. I know some stuff about the individual lengths and the whole length. So let's just plug stuff in. What's AB? You should have it written down, but that is the length. It doesn't matter that we don't know what it is. Circle that whole expression. That is the length. I need to add that to the other length. What's the other length? I write that in. And then this one is just a number here. So what's the length of AC? And sometimes you could even have an X on that side too, and you'd still be able to solve it. If you only have one variable in one equation, you can solve for that variable. And we only have one variable and one equation, so we can solve. I want you to try to solve that. Let's test your algebra. I will check real quick since I'm going to give you a couple. If you have an answer, I'll check it. Sorry. Hopefully. Actually, no, I don't think. Go ahead. Oh, so this is right here. Oh, I see. Write me out. I want you to write that equation out and try to solve it from that equation, and then I can walk you through it. Right now, I don't really have what I need to be able to show you. You're missing one thing. So write that equation. Fine. How'd you get this? Oh, you're gonna need calculators every day till we get proofs at least. So I just grab a calculator. Egg 1 plus 4 is 5. Egg plus. I heard you out there. Oh no, this is like multiply by. What's the opposite of plus 3? There you go. Then your last. Okay. There I find. You're forgetting one thing. Right. How many of these? Oh, I see what you mean. Ooh. That's the worst mistake you can make in solving the equation, right there. Don't worry about it. Do you remember a rule though? Like if whatever I do to one side of the equation, you did on the same on the same. So now try to. Although I will say I don't think you want to move that over to the other side. You need to do something else if the very first thing. All right, let's go ahead and go. Do you have one to check? Is that all you're ready? All right, so let's go ahead. A lot of people are getting to that point where they're checking and checking their math. What is it that I need to do? So actually, I'm just going to tell you this so we can move forward. I want you to have at least, hopefully, 10 minutes pushing that. So shh, I know some of you are talking about math, but I need you to hear this. This is two most important things I will say about solving all year, and I'll say them. They're important. When I solve for a variable, all solving means is get the variable by itself. Get rid of everything on that side. And there's multiple ways to do that. I'm going to do it the more traditional way. Some of you like to do it one piece at a time, which is fine. But the key is I need to get this x all by itself. So the first thing that has to happen is I can't do that if I got x's over here and x's over there. So what do I need to do? Well, you combine them. So that is, if you remember combining like terms, that's where that comes from. I can't get x by itself if I got two spots where x is. So I need to combine them into one group. And again, I just said this is x plus x, right? That's what 2x means. I'm adding them in between. Did not mean to write an x there. I had one over there. So what do I have? 3x. Again, if you know to just add the coefficient, that's fine. I'm just doing a long version. I won't do the long version all the time, but I will today. Now, what are my other terms that I can add together? Now, I could do them individually. Oh, no, actually, you did it. I thought you were going a different direction with it. You could individually get rid of the 4 and the 1 and say, well, I'm going to subtract 4, and then on the other side, subtract 4 over there. Like that's fine. I'm going to still put those into one group also, though. Again, I can combine numbers that are just numbers, like they don't have a variable. So that and that. Just make sure you understand that is a -1. So in a calculator, you need to say 4 plus -1. Combining means that. 4 plus -1 is 3. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on how to get to the math because you have calculators. So that would be what you would get on the left side. Didn't do anything on the right, so we still have 15. Now, if I want to get x all by itself, now I have to, and now I have all the x's in one group. I need to get rid of those 2 3s. Which one do I start with? No, we never start with the one with the x. Start with the +3. How do I get rid of +3? Two opposites. So we say subtract 3. And here's your number one rule. Whatever you do when you're messing around with an equation, whatever you do on one side, and sides are determined by where the equal sign is, that's why I drew that line. Whatever you do on one side, you have to do it to the other side, not the same side. Every year, a lot of kids make a mistake, not necessarily this lesson. Well, actually, it could be this lesson. It would just be a different type of problem. They make that mistake of doing the same thing on the same side. Now you just made the equation out of balance. So that's 12. 3x. How do I get rid of that 3? Yeah, that is 3 times x. So I need to divide by 3. Opposite math is division. And we get x is 2. Everybody good? Anybody have questions about how I got there? All right. So everybody is wrong. You just missed that question. How's that wrong? I'm pretty good at math. How did I make a mistake on you? Who said that? What did I say at the beginning of this whole process, Q Marley? You go by your whole Q Marley? Really long. Thank you. What do you go by? Keo. All right, Keo. What did I do wrong? What did I haven't done, I'll give you a hint. I didn't do anything wrong. I haven't done everything I needed. Yeah. I will tell you to write this in big capital letters right now. This is not algebra. So very rarely will we just solve for the variable. They are going to ask us something about the picture. So you need to write in big capital letters. After you solve for a variable, read the question. Make sure you are answering the question. I have kids every year that lose a lot of points throughout the year because they solve for that variable and move on. And that's almost never what you want to answer. I mean, you need that. We have to solve for it. But the question was, what is AB? And we said earlier, AB is x plus 4. So what do I do to find out the length of AB then? Yeah, if I know x is 4, I just plug 4 in for x. I don't need x anymore. It's not unknown. I know it. So if I know what it is, then get rid of the x, put 4 there. And the length of AB is 8. All right, so with that in mind, hope you all grabbed one. You don't have tons of time, about as much as the last group. You need to work on the packet. We're kind of skipping to the more difficult stuff. If you're struggling with that, again, you have a quiz on this tomorrow, and we're not going to do this tomorrow. We might do a quick bell word problem, but the lesson is done. You're on your own now. It's up to you. You need to do IXL 7RA. If you get some of these done in class, I can give you, help and answers and get you there. But I'm mainly focused on the IXL so that you can get your own help. Because IXL will obviously tell you the answers and how to get there. 3 through 6. If you can do those, you're good for tomorrow. Because one of the questions is very much like those. One of them's actually even easier than that. Like it's the algebra, same exact setup. But it's always little plus little is big. And if you had more segments, it'd be little plus little plus little is big. So change that one. So work with each other. If you struggle at algebra, you better make a friend that's good with algebra. Because we do a lot of algebra in here. Any questions? Question on this or something else? I'll be over there. All right. You're inside the time. That's what I tossed forever. Actually, too, just go and say it was an emergency, and I was in the. I think we only have 10, right? 7. So if you want to go, you got to say it was an emergency. I'm not supposed to write a pass in the last 10 minutes. Just say I was doing something and it was an emergency. If I don't know if they're going to buy the water is an emergency. Oh, I'm sorry. Calculators. I may or may not have mentioned this at one point. So they're always going to be, there we go. They're always going to be over here. Grab one when you come in. If we don't use it, we don't use it, but grab a book and a calculator every day when you come in. Eventually, when we get into some other stuff, you'll also probably grab a reference sheet when you come in, but we don't really need that until like the 3rd or 4th lesson. So work. Wait, should see anybody packing up. Looking pressure on you. Well, geometry is different than algebra. It's very susceptible. Yeah, geometry it's not a process. It's very susceptible. Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't have tons of time. You're not going to probably have this down by the end of today. That's why I'm focused more on the IXL, which normally I've told you the IXLs are not good representations. That one is though. Yeah, so again, that's your all. There should be a symbol over that. But anyway, we know what it means. From E to G, 71. And then it's just the same thing we just did. They're all the same, dude. Like this is not, if you put a little work into it, this is not a bad exit if you're good at algebra. Oh, I forgot to tell you one more thing. And I don't normally give on an exit ticket, I don't normally give partial credit, but I will because technically this should be a quiz. If you can just set the equation up, like if you can just do this line right here, you give me that. That's a C. You can't do algebra at all. So everybody turn on. Like if you're not great with algebra yet, and you're going to have to kind of work your way into it. I give you a C for knowing the geometry, which is setting up the equation. So then, if you can do the math, that's how you get to A's and B's. So make sure you have that concept down and you can set it up. So always show me an equation. So Anthony, on that one, I still want you to write the equation because again, now you're to C, and then if you can do the algebra, you're A or B. Yeah, so some kids skip what you're trying to solve in their head and just figuring something out. take that time to write the equation. Now you guarantee your C. Then if you make math mistakes, it doesn't hurt you. So again, write me an equation. I don't see an equation yet. So just like this, I'll be back here, Jason. You should have, it's always, at least for my quiz, sometimes there's more to it, but you should have little plus little equal. Now, sometimes you might have a variable where the big is. So just keep that in mind. There might be variables from both sides. Just jab another. Work with other people. Make sure you do the IXL. Find X's, if positive, perfect. Negative and negative. Negative 20, perfect. And then you can sign that's not good. Oh, they need to say that. Yeah. No laptops out. I don't want laptops out in class. I want you working on the problems I tell you to work on. You can do IXL at home. And we will just find. Oh, I gotta correct one thing that Mr. Yates said. Yeah. Like we won't do tons of IXLs in here. Like that just takes time to get the computers out going. We also you have to know how to do math to get A's and B's in my class. Oh yeah, these work a little differently than probably the ones actually by the negative first, and when you get about it after yeah, we'll have to have a day where we spend. These definitely work differently than this prime example. Yeah.
This is a negative symbol, so I can count that down. But that a negative symbol, is that a minus?
Well, okay, so you just added 6 to the right side of the equation. You can't do that. So you're doing that thing. We're combining or making you just say negative 17 plus negative 3. So if they're on the same, the numbers are on the same side, you're not moving it to the other side, you just combine them together. Actually, and then the X's you were good on, right? I think it's like 13 X or something. Yeah. So just so you know, the answer to number 3, when you get to the answer, should be 7. X equals 7.
Okay.
Never and these are letter X. I don't know what they are. And then that's 2. What's the other little? So plus. So there we just don't have a variable in the other. And then equals X.
So I think it's 14 X and then C. And I think if you do 9X plus 2 is. And then you add 5 to that, so you get 9X plus 7.
I'll get you.
And then I kind of just.
So on the other side, you're going to have a variable which is a little trickier math. I'll have to see if, I don't know if there's one like that on the quiz or not, I'll look. And if there is, we'll do that with the bell work so they're like, I don't know how to do that out. But again, if you assume as geometry teachers, you know how to do the algorithm, you don't spend some time on that. All right, make sure you do those IXLs tonight. Did I steal somebody's? Say bye. All right, bye. I gotta remember that. Much easier. Yeah. Yeah, I have. Oh, I forgot to mention. I'm doing tutoring Friday after school for probably like 45 minutes. All right. And then you will have a big quiz, like probably Tuesday of next week. But we'll talk about that on blocking. All right. Late. Where are you going? Oh, that's not far away.
Oh, you're the wish I could live from a tweaking.
Were you sophomore? Who'd you have?
Or science.